Good Abend.
Christian! Christian! Wegrein! Okay. Arschfüße. Ja. Ja. Bravo.
Good morning again, curling fans. Welcome back to the first Adelboden International WCT Men's Tour. We're now looking at the 11 o'clock draw. So this is the bottom half of the draw in this triple knockout format. My name is Lorna Rettig and we will be watching our featured game together here on sheet 1. So one of these teams should be fairly recognisable to you. They're throwing red today, and that's Team Peter de Cruz. And this morning they are up against a young team from Basel, Team Heinimann. So not long out of juniors, all in their early 20s, this team. They played in the Swiss Cup 3 weeks ago. So still getting some experience. They'll be pretty happy to have a shot at playing the de Cruz rink. And they're throwing yellow today. That's our featured game, Team de Cruz versus Team Heinimann, an all Swiss affair. And also in this draw, next door on sheet 2, we have Team Magnusson from Sweden versus Team Husri from Switzerland. On rink 3, we have Team Van Dorp from Netherlands against Team Harsch from Germany. And rounding out this draw and the competition, we have Team Schneider from Switzerland against Team Rizzoli from Italy. So a nice mix of familiar and newer names for us there. And here on sheet 1, we'll be following Team de Cruz versus the young Team Heinimann from Basel. So tough ask for the Heinimann team, but great opportunity to play the de Cruz rink. We join them here in the first end. The last shot is with the de Cruz team, so their last shot draw was a little bit closer to the middle than the Team Heinimann. Nice shot there from Peter de Cruz. All 4 of the de Cruz rink probably quite familiar to curling fans. But they started out somewhere as well. So let's hope the Heinimann team bring their best shots to this game. And really make the most of playing the de Cruz rink. He's got an unlucky result there. Just didn't quite get their angles right, so that red's still stuck behind a yellow guard. If you weren't with us earlier, we had the first draw of this competition at 8 o'clock this morning, early start. And I can quickly go over the results for you. So on rink 1, we had Team Schwaller against Team Tivansoni, and that was a last shot win for Team Schwaller. On rink 2, we had Team Jungen from here in Adelboden against Team Totzek from Germany. and that was a win for the local team from Adelboden. On rink 3, we had Joel Returnes from Italy against Christian Bangerter from Switzerland. And that was a win for the Italian team. And finally, we had Team Hesse from Switzerland against Team Genner from Austria. And that was a win for Team Hesse. So those 8 teams, they will all play again at 2 o'clock. The winners play each other and the losers play each other, if that makes sense. And you did hear me right when I told you the result of that first game. That was Team Yannick Schwaller versus Team Silvana Tirenzoni. So Team Tirenzoni, the current Ladies World Champions, very special guests in the competition. The first edition of the Adelboden International was also affected somewhat by COVID restrictions, travel restrictions, etc. So some teams who wanted to play and had entered the competition were finally not able to travel. And the organisers came up with a wonderful last-minute substitute, and that is the current Ladies World Champions. So super game we got to watch this morning. Do take a look at that if you want to watch a really tight, really interesting game. Lots of great shots from both teams and a really interesting tactics to follow during that game as well. So do have a look at that. That will be in the video vault on the WCT YouTube channel. You can keep up with all of the news from the World Curling Tour on their website, which is worldcurlingtour.org. Make sure you're in the right place, because I think this is a new website, so worldcurlingtour.org, and that has all the schedule for the men's, women's, mixed doubles, and also wheelchair and junior events. I think all the events a little bit fluid in these crazy times, so competition still trying to go ahead, but yeah, having to be a bit creative with the thinking a little bit as well. If you joined us in Baden 2 weeks ago at the first of the European WCT events, the Baden Masters, you would see a lot of these teams were there as well. We haven't been able to see our friends from Scotland or our friends from Norway playing yet. So they have rather stricter travel restrictions on their movements at the moment. And I think the situation in North America is still quite difficult as well. I think some clubs are able to open, some clubs not able to open yet. So feel welcome to join us here in the virtual curling club as we watch what competitions we can. Bright start, as we would surely expect from Peter de Cruz's team. We watched them play in the Baden Masters 2 weeks ago. They were in the same group as Niklas Edin, and we watched both of those games. So we watched their game in the round robin, and we watched them play each other again in the semi-final, and it was Eden who won out this time and went on to win the whole competition. So joint third place finish for the De Cruz rink 2 weeks ago. Now they've won the Baden Masters before, so they'd be a little bit disappointed, but not a bad weekend's work for them. And not at all a bad start in this end. So yeah, the young Basel team here in all kinds of trouble. So Peter de Cruz has last shot in this end and are playing the red shot. So you can see that we really need a clutch shot already in this first end. Looks like he's drawing around the back of those first 2 red stones in the centre line onto the back red on that centre line. So deep breath now. It must be a bit intimidating for this young team. Not long out of juniors, everybody in their early 20s. So I'm sure it's a bit intimidating stepping out against the Olympic bronze medalists.
Go.
So,
Go. Hard.
oh, and that doesn't help them either. Oh, this is a pity. They don't want to let Cruz get a big end in this first end here. So only 1 shot to come from Heinimann and 2 shots left for Peter de Cruz. So the de Cruz rank looking pretty relaxed. I think I would be as well. They're lying at least 3. And they do have last shot in this end, so a lot of work to do with our last shot here, the Heinimann team. That would be a pity if they let de Cruz away with a big end here in the first end. So everyone's kind of wandering off to go and do something else. And looks like, oh, that was last shot, oh dear. So that's a unhappy start for the Heinimann team. Bit of an uphill battle from there. That can very much be the difference between the top teams at this kind of level and those who are still learning a little bit, is that the Team de Cruzes and the Team Edens, they're really on their game from that first end. You don't have the first end to find your weight or figure out the ice too much. These teams are on top of the ice already. So that's a pity for the young team there. Let's hope they can get a couple points back. It's a big ask to play the de Cruz team. We've got huge experience, so don't let your heads go down, Team Heinimann. Plenty of ends left. And just stone by stone. Aggressive call there. They got no choice, the Heinimann team. They're going to have really good tee weight, get their guards up, get stones in behind. Definitely no easy games at this level in this competition. But we've all been there. We all start our journey with the first step. And let's hope the Heinimann team put that first end to the back of their heads and keep plugging away. Plenty ends left to get some points back here. They're not going to get many mistakes out of de Cruz, so they're going to have to be on top of that. I like that for a call. Yeah, let's put that second shot in. That can be easier, playing that tee line straight in behind their corner guard. So a nice shot there of lead player for the Heinimann team. Sounds like they're quite happy with the weight of it. They've been calling tee line. Yeah, looks like they were very accurate with their weight call. Really nice shot there. So bright start there in that second end. Good for you, Team Heinimann. And they also know that Peter de Cruz will be trying to cover up that centre line to make their life more difficult. So really nice shots from Felix, their lead there. Really nice corner guard, followed by drawing tucked in behind it. And they know that by playing that tactic, they're going to be looking at 3 stones on the centre line after Peter de Cruz has thrown this stone here. So then they will spend the rest of the end trying to clear the middle a bit and give themselves a chance to try to score 2. And then if they can score 2 in this end, then they're right back in the game. That would be a score of 4-2. So just to confirm, that was a big score of 4 for de Cruz in the first end here in our featured game. And yep, everyone else has finished their first end, so we can catch up with the other games. Next door, we have a steal of 1 to the Swiss team Hösli, who are playing the Swedish team Magnusson. On sheet 3, it was a score of 1 to the Van Dorp team, who had hammer, versus the young Harsch team from Germany. And on sheet 4, we have a steal of 1 to Team Schneider, who are playing Team Rizzoli. That's an Italian team, even though they have a bit of an Austrian flag there. So yeah, that's the scores are correct, the names are correct. Not all the flags were correct there, but our technology is still wakening up this morning as well. While I was keeping eyes on the other games, that looks like that was a lovely shot there from Heinimann team. That's exactly what we want to see, is them bouncing back in the second end and getting good shots in play. I think at the club it can be rather typical in the first end that the players, yeah, they're still finding their rhythm, still figuring out the ice a little bit, not at this level. So that's something the Heinimann team will need to practice and get used to, is you've got to be on your game from that first shot. Otherwise, one of the top teams like de Cruz, they can get a big score on you on that first end. So no time to settle into the game, no time to figure out the line and the weight. You've got to be on top of it immediately. Now it looks like Peter de Cruz is going for red onto yellow here. He's made that nicely. But they still have that nice yellow tucked in behind cover. So that's looking handy. The red out front is a little bit dangerous for them. De Cruz's team could play a similar shot, although it wouldn't be as easy. The stones are a bit further apart. So not to be rude, but this splitting the house idea is very typical of a younger team, I must say. If we were being a bit cheeky, we would call this a junior 2. So Linus Imfeld, the second player for this young Heinimann team. And the thinking here is that as long as they never leave a double takeout for Peter de Cruz and they just keep replacing the shot, then they will end up with 2 points at the end. They've overcooked that one a little bit though, so you can see that that red is still out counting that yellow just thrown. So yellow lies 1, or we would say yellow lies first and third shot, and red lies second and fourth. So it looks like they are going to try that same shot again, Peter de Cruz. They've just played that line, so it's a more difficult shot for Sven Michael. That red's a bit further away from the yellow, but that won't bother him too much. So don't worry, Sven he's still a Swiss. He hasn't switched to Swedish yet. This looks nice and controlled. Yeah, no trouble there. They didn't quite make the most of their opportunity there, the Heinimann team. They had that really nice set-up shot and then just overcooked it with trying to split the house and put another stone on the other side. So it looks like they're calling for a shot to just nudge up to that red and maybe keep the red in play to keep the yellow a bit safer. Ooh, this is coming in hot though. Ooh, that's not going to curl enough at all. Oopsie. And now Cruz just happy to mop up that remaining yellow and not give them a chance to build some stones and get points back. I can't see this end being blanked. There's plenty of shots in, so it looks like someone is going to score this end, and that means that the team from Basel, yeah, they're right to persist with the aggressive call. It looks like they're going to be at least forced to score one, so they're not going to be removing these red stones. That, or well, they looks like they are removing this red stone, but they will want to hang around as well. They can't afford to be hitting and rolling out. So it looks like they're anyway going to be forced to one shot, so they may as well keep trying to set up themselves for a two. Oh, this is a pity. It's just they're not quite finding the right line and right angles this morning. It's still really open, so they'll still be confident that they can pick up one. And that's important as well. They can't let Cruz run away with the game at this stage, so important that they don't let this game get ahead of them here. Let's just concentrate, steady the ship a bit. So I guess Cruz will be blocking that path now, so that the Heinimann team doesn't have a path to that red touching the forefoot. Yeah, looks like they want one just where Peter Cruz is holding his brush. Just about front 8 or so. Yeah, that's a nice shot there. So it looks like, yeah, Peter Cruz was saying it would be nice to have it just touching the forefoot, because at the moment there is space that Heinimann team can do a hit and roll behind there, behind that cover. That looks like exactly what they're trying to play. However, even if they do get that, then for a team that's as experienced as Cruz, I think for Benoit Schwartz, he would be totally happy, even if they made this hit and roll perfectly. I think there will be a fairly straightforward red onto yellow. But first things first, let's make this hit and roll. It's all about confidence from here, from this young team. It's a tough ask to play to Cruz's team. So it's all about confidence, not to let the head go down. So hardly any roll there. So that leaves a open hit for Benoit Schwartz. Yeah, he would quite like to find the inside of that yellow, and if he can get a roll in behind the reds, then he makes it very difficult for Heinimann to score there. Although just hitting it on the nose does not make life any easier for the Basel team either. So as long as this yellow goes, they're fairly happy with it. So nice steady throw from Peter Cruz's fourth thrower, Benoit Schwartz. You can see that he's just throwing a bit less weight than the younger team, and maybe this is something that they can practice as well. And he does find that roll. That's exactly the roll that the Heinimann team was looking for previously. And you could see that the stone they threw, it was a bit heavier than the weights that the Cruz team are throwing, so maybe that's something that they can pick up from this game. Just that maybe gentler weight, a little bit less weight, a little more control, and then you give yourself a better chance to find that roll behind cover. So yeah, I think this is his His only choice really is to just do a dead draw to the tee line and try and outcount that really nice raid just thrown by Ben Marshforth. So I would say at minimum he wants to make sure he outcounts those 2 reds at the front that are touching the 8 foot. Otherwise they've really given themselves a mountain to climb. So deep breath. Tee line here. So 4th thrower for Heinimann team, Lorenz Hammer.
No Länge, Linie ist gut, Linie ist nach außen, warte.
So it sounds like it's got enough space, it's just about the weight.
Und
Are you sure, boys? I think that's okay. He's not bad. Well, good effort there from 4th thrower Lorenz Hammer. So he definitely cut it down to 1. And that's important that he got something out of that shot, because if they'd had a big miss, then I think it would be essentially game over, and that would be really a pity. So they do lose 1 there, but yep, fist bump for you, Lorenz Hammer. That was a nervy shot, so well done. Last shot then remains with Heinimann team. After 2 ends, it's 5-0 to Peter de Cruz after a big 4 in that first end. They'll be quite happy to persist with drawing towards the centre line here. They're getting some nice practice of finding their tee weight and guard weight. Valentin Tanner, hugely experienced. I think he and Peter have played together since junior curling. Straight to the middle, no trouble. And they know that the young team from Basel, they're not going to hit that red out. The Heinimann team, they need to start making some points. So they're making the right decisions. They're trying to give themselves a chance to get some points in play. So they're going to put up a guard, which will be protected by the free guard zone. That means Peter de Cruz can't remove that yellow yet until 5 stones are played. That's why that's a better shot than playing a takeout on that red. If they played a takeout on that red, we would simply swap stones, swap takeouts for 8 stones, and then Heinimann would end up scoring probably 1 point. And they could do with making more than 1 point. So that's why they throw up the guard instead. Very similar start we're seeing here in this 3rd end that we saw in the 2nd end. Really nice shots from Valentin Tanner. That's one way of doing it. So you could indeed play a hit and roll on one of those reds that Valentin just played. But yeah, finding that roll really perfectly is difficult. This might be the easier way of getting a shot in behind their nice corner guard. So they put out the corner guard really nicely. And they want to make use of it. They could do the hit and roll, but sometimes this is the easier way, is to just play a simple tee line instead. It can be hard to get a really accurate roll. This looks really nice. Really good line. So sweeping it to encourage it to keep curling. So yeah, nice setup shots there from the Heinimann lead Felix. De Cruz can see maybe about half of that stone, maybe a little more. He will again come at it with just that controlled weight, enough weight to push the yellow out. But he's happy for this red to hang around, and he wants to give the sweepers a chance to guide the stone as well. And I think he is going to get that roll towards the centre. This is definitely an easier hit and roll, so to roll accurately all the way from the centre line, all the way over there, what he's pointing, that's quite a difficult roll. He may have more success with going for the red on the left there, because that's a shorter roll. But he's maybe also thinking that he could use that red on the left as we look at it as some kind of cover. He definitely needs the hit and roll now. He doesn't want these reds building up again. He could play the same shot again and play T-line. But yeah, there's a few too many reds getting out front. It looks like he's saying there maybe wasn't enough ice for that, so it looks like that stone didn't connect with the reds there. And this is tough. We've all been there when we're playing a really strong team and we're just not quite finding our shots. And against most teams, if they were playing at the club or if they were playing other men's teams who are not the Olympic bronze medalist, they'd be getting some results, but it's tough out there. And I feel for them. We've all been in this situation and it's tough to keep going. It's tough to find some confidence and keep going. Look at that. I mean, that's, I would say, 3.5 perfect shots. They didn't quite get the roll on Peter de Cruz's first shot, but yeah, they're not doing much wrong, and they're not likely to do much wrong. And I sympathise with the young team out there. It's tough to know what to do when you're just getting pretty much perfect shot after perfect shot against you. It's tough to know how to combat that. So yeah, they need to move something. These reds are building up a bit again. This looks a bit nicer. This angle looks a bit happier. Or not. So yeah, when you're not having luck, you're not having luck. De Cruz will keep putting stones on that centre line. And while Sven Mikkel is setting that up, we can take a look at what's going on in the other games. Everyone's on their third end as well. So next door was a blank end, so that's still 1-0 to Husley versus Magnusson. There was a score of 1 in the second end to the German team. So it's 1 each in Van Dorp from Netherlands versus Harsch from Germany. And in our final game on sheet 4, that was a big steal of 3 for Team Schneider against the young Italian Team Rizzoli. So that's 4-0 to Team Schneider. There you can see all of those scores confirmed there. Yeah, it's really difficult for Team Heinimann to really know what to do out there. They can't let the red stones build up too much because then they're just blocking themselves off from being able to score at all. But on the other hand, they're not making shots back by hitting. So that is, I feel for them, this is a very tough situation. Michaela asks in the chat, what's it like for Team de Cruz playing such a game? Would they just try and bulldoze through and end this ASAP? And yes, that's exactly what they'll try and do. And that's exactly what I would do as well. They've got plenty of games to come this weekend. They would love to save their energy for later games. So yeah, if they can get this done and dusted in 4 ends, that's exactly what they will do. So not so interesting for us curling fans watching. If it's a bit of a one-sided game. But yeah, Peter de Cruz will gladly accept a shorter game or an easier game and save some energy for the later rounds. So Heinemann team just trying to make some space here. They're almost trying to do two opposite things at once. They can't let all these reds build up or they're just going to get blocked out completely. But they do also need some points, so they do need some yellows hanging around. They're just not going to get many mistakes or chances out of de Cruz's team, really. First stone here from Swiss fourth thrower Benoit Schwarz. Yep, no mistake there. And I think this is the right call again, actually. So they want to give themselves a chance to score. So what they're proposing is to just sneak up to that red that's right in the middle. And then hope that Benoit Schwarz makes a mistake in trying to remove it. And maybe give themselves a chance at scoring two. Peter de Cruz and Benoit Schwarz looking pretty relaxed there. And I don't blame them. They're 5 points up. Playing very nicely.
It's up, it's up. Linus, nur wenn es geht. Go, go, go. Hard, Jungs!
This is pulling up short again. Oh dear. Oh, I'm sad for Team Heinemann. Just nothing is going their way at the moment. So de Cruz is already lying 2. I think Heinemann's only option would be to try that again, yeah, and sneak it through that gap. So best idea is to just try and block them from doing that. So I think a guard anywhere on that line would be fine for Schwarz, or he may also want to put another one in. I guess the part B answer to your question, Michaela, but what's this like for de Cruz team to be out there and yeah, you're playing a team and nothing's really going their way and you're playing really nicely. As we often point out, curling's a very friendly sport. It's a very gentlemanly sport, let's say, and actually at some point I must say this stops being fun for Team Peter de Cruz as well. They will be very happy if they can save energy and have an early game, but at some point they don't want to make Team Heinemann feel silly or look foolish. They're not out there to humiliate them. And at some point, Team Peter de Cruz, yeah, they will stop enjoying this as well if there's no luck for the Heinemann team. So yeah, Benoit Schwarz just putting a third shot in there. There may be a chance, yeah, if you just hit that right in the middle of those two shots to spring the pair of them out. And you've maybe experienced this at the club as well, where it's really your night and everything is going your way and your opposition are just not finding their stones at all. They're just not finding their weight. And yeah, typically that's not a nice experience. Nobody really enjoys doing that. So let's have a nice shot here, Team Heinemann. Let's steady the ship.
Okay.
So I like that controlled weight better. They were throwing quite a lot of weight the first couple of ends, and I like this slower weight nicer. This looks pretty good. Right up to it. That's it. Good sweep there, good sweep there. Oh, we hear a bit of a groan there. It sounds like that. It did move both reds, but maybe not quite far enough. So I think that was one red there again. Yes, it was. So I think, yeah, that it's looking pretty tough for Team Heinimann to get out of this, but the best thing they can do just now is to really focus on shot by shot and finish strong, in the sense of, let's really focus on shot by shot. Let's really take out of this what we can. I think for any team to get 6 points back on Peter de Cruz's team is a very tough ask. So it could be that this game is running away from them now, but important is that they can take a little bit of confidence from this game. Yeah, let's continue playing nice shots. Let's play good weight.
Zwei.
But this is learning for all of us watching as well, actually. There are no dummy teams in this competition. Team Heinimann, they've got experience at juniors. They played in the Swiss Cup a few weeks ago. So they're not a dummy team. So that just shows all of us regular players, let's say, just how good the De Cruz team really is. Says me as Bemar Schwartz has a bit of a tumble there. I'm sure in most competitions the Heinimann team would be really strong. Say at a club competition or in plenty of lineups. And it just really shows us how accurate the De Cruz team is. There we go, lovely shots again. So they're managing to set up the end okay, the Heinimann team, so that's something very positive to take out of this game. Yeah, good play there from their lead thrower Felix. He's having a nice game there at lead. And it's not really that the others are playing horribly, it's just it is very tough. You have to be so accurate at this level. They're making the right decisions, Team Heinimann. They're trying to give themselves a chance. And it's just really tough against a team of this quality. De Cruz coming around the other way from that guard. I guess they can see a little bit out the other side. Sven trying to sweep it to encourage it to curl. And he catches enough of that, but that's the right idea. No sense paying attention to that red. Let's use that corner guard.
Vorne 12. Darf ruhiger ein bisschen curlen, Christian. Ich. Alle boys.
Maybe it's a nice chance to reflect for all of us normal curlers. Every time you watch a game of curling and you think, oh, I'm sure I could play as well as that team, or I'm sure I could play De Cruz's team and have a good game. No, you couldn't, because you would be doing worse than the Heinimann team out here. The Heinimann team is not a dummy team at all. They've got experience and they are really struggling against De Cruz's team. And yeah, let's reflect on that. That's exactly how the rest of us would be doing as well, if not worse. The format in this triple knockout, it's very similar for this bottom half of the draw. So a rare miss there from Peter de Cruz. Didn't catch enough of that yellow. So probably not enough to turn the game, but let's make use of that half chance, Heinimann. This is maybe the third part of an answer to your question, Michaela, about what's this experience like for Peter de Cruz. This can happen when you're quite far up in a game and you're playing really nicely. It can be hard to maintain that concentration for them as well. And this can happen. You end up playing a half shot yourself. Yeah, that's the right way to do it. Exactly. No, you're doing the right shot. It's hard for both teams to concentrate here. It's hard for Heinimann to figure out what's the best way to try to get a couple points back in this game, or what's the best thing to do with that half shot from Peter de Cruz. And it's hard for de Cruz's team to keep up their concentration, having had a blistering start. Basically no mistakes so far, and it can be hard to keep your concentration from that perspective as well. So yeah, maybe not quite as exciting as this morning's game that we watched, but definitely always something to learn. This looks like a better weight. They've had a few dropping short, and that's a bit better. So that's looking a bit happier for yellow this end. And the next round for this bottom half of the draw follows a similar kind of pattern for the top half. So the next draw is at 2 o'clock, and that's when we'll see the top half playing again. And the draw after that is at 6:30 European time. And it follows the same kind of pattern that the top half. So the winners from this session, the 4 winners, they will play 2 versus 2. And the 4 losing teams from this session, they will play 2 versus 2. And all of those 4 games will play at 6:30. And after that, that's when it starts to get less predictable. So there's confirmation of all the scores going on. All the teams are in their 4th end, except for the notoriously chatty Van Dorp team, who are still in their 3rd. So yeah, big 3 by the Swedish team Magnusson there in sheet 2. So that scores 3-1. Just finishing off the 3rd end in Van Dorp versus Haas, and a blank end in Schneider versus Rizzoli to keep that score at 4-0. The sweepers are backing off this one. Yep, that's coming in hot. I don't think that's going to hang around. Again, that's the kind of miss that most of us make, most of us normal curlers would make. And we'll probably get another chance at getting it back, but not against this team. Although having said that, I don't think this is round the guard. No, it isn't. So a let off there for Heinimann team. They're not going to get too many more chances. They may be able to capitalise on this difficulty concentrating that de Cruz's team are probably experiencing. So they may be able to grab a couple points back. But Heinimann team, they also have a lot of games coming this weekend. So I think they probably realise this game is getting away from them, and they're also probably happy to save their energy for later games as well. So that looked like a nice weight. Just didn't quite find the line that they wanted.
Sven seine Kerle brutal. Wie war der Hammer?
Looks like Peter de Cruz is signalling either to play on that front red and just bump it in 1.5 meters or so, or a dead draw around the back of it. So either way, nice kind of T-line weight for Benoit Schwartz. So again, a little bit of a miss there. Now, can they take advantage of that, Team Heinimann?
Zieh Linie. Ja, zieh. Halt. Zieh. Zieh.
I think that didn't quite have the legs, and that's why that curled too much onto the guard. So they do get a little rollover to cover that front yellow, but the red's still lying short. And I'm sure Benoit Schwartz won't make a mistake a second time, so my guess is he will try and punch that red back 1 meter or so. Yep, where Peter de Cruz is indicating. And then again, it will be a bit of a tricky shot to try and outcount that for the young Heinimann team. So while we're letting Benoit Schwartz set that up, I can tell you what's coming up later. So we have 3 more draws today after this one. Next draw is at 2 o'clock, and we will see the same teams that we saw this morning. So I can already tell you the lineup. So at 2 o'clock, we will see Team Schwaller versus Team Jungen, so all Swiss affair. We will see Team Rotornas versus Team Hess, Team Tirenzoni versus Team Totzek, and Team Bangerter versus Team Genner. So some fun matchups to look forward to at 2 o'clock as well. And then the round after that is at 6:30, and that will feature the winners and the losers from this round here. Decent shot from Benoit Schwartz. Not quite as far towards the middle as he would have liked, but that doesn't really change the shot that fourth thrower Lorenz Kramer will anyway be playing. It looks like this might be wiser. I think there may be an easier path to go in this handle. I think to get to the centre on the clockwise handle, That was a very skinny gap.
Wartelinie.
So yeah, he just needs to be fully 8 foot, so I think this was wise to come on this side instead. So yeah, let's make sure. Got to be fully 8 foot. Always clean. That's definitely there. Nice. So that's a bit of a confidence boost for the Heinimann team. It's never nice when you're throwing fourth. I throw fourth at the club, and it's never nice when you're looking at 15 stones out front all the time. It's not fun. So yeah, well done, Lawrence Kramer. He's been looking at a lot of stones every end, so good job, sir. So after 4 ends then, the score in our featured game here is 6-1 to Peter de Cruz here at the first edition of the Adelboden International WCT Men's Tour. That's really exciting when your competition earns a WCT stamp. So everyone here at Club Adelboden is very happy to host the first WCT Men's Tour event here. And as we've said, the competition has been a little bit disrupted by COVID restrictions and travel restrictions and whatnot. So the 16th team to make up the draw is Savannah Timonzoni's World Championship Ladies team. So quite a silver lining to that cloud. And we saw them play a super game against Yannick Schwaller's team this morning that went absolutely to the last shot. Could have gone either way. So we'll see them in action again at 2 o'clock against the Totzek team from Germany. I think that will be another really exciting game. You can keep up with what's going on in the WCT Tour by looking at their new website, and you will find that at worldcurlingtour.org. Make sure you're looking at the right one. I think they've just got a new website, so it's worldcurlingtour.org, and that will give you up-to-date information on the men's tour, the women's tour, mixed doubles, wheelchairs and juniors. So lots of information there. As we said, it's quite a fluid situation, so some events have been completely cancelled. It's just not viable to go ahead anymore. I think a couple in Canada have already been cancelled. Some are going ahead, but with some little tweaks and adjustments, like this weekend here in Adelboden and a couple of weeks ago in Baden. They went ahead, but with a slightly reduced field. As far as I can tell, it looks like there is another event in Canada this weekend. So the AMJ Campbell Shorty Jenkins Classic, that's been suspended. But the Stu Sells Oakville Tankard, it looks like that may still be happening. Then next week there are 3 events in Canada scheduled. I'm not sure if all of those go ahead. Two other international events, so one in South Korea and one in California in the US. Both of those look like they're cancelled, sadly. The next event here in Europe is in 3 weeks' time. That's the Matchtown Trophy in Sweden. As far as I know, that's still going ahead. And there's also the Tuch, I'm not sure how to pronounce that correctly, International Men's Challenger in Poland. If you can guide my pronunciation, please feel welcome. And then in 4 weeks' time, back here in Switzerland, we have the Champery Curling Masters. So definitely curling out there. Not as much to watch as normal. Let's check in on what's going on with the ladies. So yeah, also the AMJ Campbell Shorty Jenkins Classic not happening next week for them. The next European event for the women's tour is the PAF Masters in Finland. So that's this weekend, and as far as I know, that's happening. And then next weekend is the Women's Masters in Basel here in Europe, and as far as I know, that's happening as well. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what's the status with the North American competitions, but that's the status here in Europe. Again, quite a few reds hanging around here, and this is a dangerous situation because de Cruz now has last shot as well. Team Heinimann urgently need to score another point here, otherwise I think they may decide to save their energy for the evening round. There's certainly no shame having a bit of a blowout to Team Peter de Cruz. That was a difficult win anyway, so if you're going to have a bit of a wobble, may as well have it right now and save your good shots for the evening and the rest of the weekend. Yeah, life is not getting any easier for the Basel team out here. We'll maybe be able to catch up with Team Heinimann later in the weekend. I'm sure they've got better shots. They'll be a bit disappointed that they didn't find their best shots in this game. So there's a nice little hole. Yep, if you just punch that through right on the beak, then the yellow will go straight backwards, and I'm not sure there's too much that the Heinimann team would be able to do about it. Then you would be really covering the front of that forefoot. So Sven Mikkel again, that controlled weight. He wants this red to hang around. He's not quite on the face of it, I don't think. So Valentin Tanner just sweeping to try to help it to curl a little bit, but job done. It didn't jam on any of the reds, so the yellow's removed. And here's an interesting fact for the fourth thrower for Heinimann that we're seeing just now holding the brush, Lorenz Kammer. Hans tells us that Lorenz spent time at the Swedish Academy of Curling in Hornosand, did I say that properly? And he speaks good Swedish, so he will be able to listen in on the the discussions going on with Team Magnussen next door. So thank you for that, Hans. That's cool.
Oh.
It looks like they maybe had a wee bit too much ice there. I think they were going for the first red to then spring back into those 2 reds on the left as we look. So it looks like just a little bit too much ice there, and it just scooted past everything almost. So now Sven Michael has a big chance to really lock up that forefoot. I think that's interesting to hear that young Mr. Kama was at the Swedish Academy, so I'm sure he brought good learnings from there. Takes a bit of time to put everything together and get your team really in the groove, but hopefully that means we'll be seeing more of Team Heinimann.
Legen. Tap. Tap. Okay, man sieht das da einfacher wäre, so rein zu tappen.
Looks like we have a friend called Gameplay who's watching from Brazil, so hello to you, Gameplay. I can't tell if it would be really late at night or really early in the morning for you. I guess quite early in the morning. I think Brazil's about -5 hours or something. So nice to have you, Gameplay. I've heard that before, that curling is very popular to watch in Brazil. I have played the Brazilian team once at World Championship. It was the World Mixed Championship, so teams of 2 men and 2 ladies. It's always fun to play new teams, always exciting when new countries come on board. And Brazil definitely making progress. You see them very often now, I think basically every World Championship for the mixed, and I think they play in the mixed doubles as well. And again, we all start somewhere, so yeah, Brazil at the beginning of their journey and getting better every year.
Good. Oh, warte.
And this young team from Basel, Team Heinimann, also at the beginning of their journey.
Oh.
And this morning up against a team who are very much at the top of their journey. So again, not a terrible idea, not a terrible effort from the Heinimann team. I don't think it cancels out more than one, actually. I think, well, there's definitely still 1 red lying. That one snuggled in behind everything. Fairly sure it's 2 red. So I think they're wondering, my guess is that Peter de Cruz realistically is saying, can we finish this game in this end? And that's a perfectly fair thing to be asking, actually. They're +5. They're making a lot of good shots, so if they can get a big end here, I think that will definitely be enough's enough for the Heinimann team. Honestly, I think even if they score 2 here, I think that's probably going to be enough for the Heinimann team as well. But yeah, they're professional. They want to make sure they play their best shots still. Yeah, so Gameplay is from Manaus, Brazil. So welcome, Gameplay. Nice to have you. If you missed our feature game this morning, which was on at 8 o'clock, so early start for everyone, that was a first round match between Team Yannick Schwaller and Team Silvana Tirenzoni. Team Tirenzoni are special guests at this competition. We had a few dropouts due to corona restrictions and travel restrictions, so a big boost for the competition that Team Tirenzoni said, yeah, well, why not? This would be a good competition for us too. So yeah, their first round match, the current ladies world champions, that was against the current vice European champions in Yannick Schwaller's team. And really a super match. So if you didn't join us for that this morning at 8 o'clock, then I recommend looking that up on the World Curling Tour YouTube channel and watching that. It is exciting literally until the last stone. So yeah, I think that's just about done enough. That shot from Bema Schwartz. I don't think the Basel team can use that yellow. I think that was probably their idea, was to maybe play onto that yellow that they just threw. But yeah, I don't think that's an option anymore. There's no gap through there anymore. So yeah, now they're looking at playing on that outside yellow. It's possible. If you hit all you can see of that yellow, it will dive back onto those two reds. But I'm not sure your angles are there to spill both of the reds. So Charlotte says she wishes that people could be allowed to see the games live since Adelboden is so pretty. And I have to agree with you, Charlotte. It's my first time in Adelboden for any reason, never mind curling. And yeah, we're going to have a bit of a pause over lunch, and I'm looking forward to having a little wander around town and maybe having a nice hot chocolate in one of the ski chalets. Hopefully that will get back to normal sooner rather than later, Charlotte, and we can all watch games from the venue again. So that's indeed what this team from Basel are doing. I think that's kind of their only option really, is to go for that outside yellow and try and punch that back into those two reds and split the two reds out. It'll be a wonderful shot if he makes it. So I hope he does. They seem to be learning a bit and playing just that little bit less weight to have more control over the shot.
Yep.
Oh, are you sure, boys? I would leave that. Wants to curl a wee bit more.
Yes.
That was a really good try. Oops. I think he's moving his shooter stone and assuming the end's over when, unfortunately, it's Peter de Cruz who has last shot. You can see the result there. I think when they were calling the sweeping, they had noticed quickly a plan B, that maybe they could squirt that yellow into the forefoot. So quick thinking there. It didn't quite work out. And I think Peter de Cruz is indicating something similar on the counterclockwise handle. So I think Benoit Schwartz is going to play again T-line. Just try and punch that red, that one that's just close to Peter de Cruz's brush. Just try and punch that a little bit closer to the centre. And then I think that'll be 3 red. And I think the young Heinimann team will probably say, let's save our energy for later. Yeah, no mistake there. So fist bumps and or gloved handshakes. So really superlative performance there from Peter de Cruz. Tough day at the office there for the young team Heinimann, so that's a pity for them. We've all been in that situation where it's just not your day. Your opposition's playing great stuff. It's not your day. So I hope they're not too dispirited. They've got plenty more games to come. They'll hopefully have less of a mountain to climb in their next round. So they will be playing the team on sheet 2. They will be playing whichever team loses that game, so either Magnussen or Husley. At the moment, they'll be doing their last stone draw, I believe, for the last shot for the next round, for this evening's round. I think, yeah, looks like they'll keep 1 stone each and do a last shot draw to take forward to the 6:30 round. And hard to tell who will be their opposition this evening. Looks like a tight affair next door. So there we have confirmation of that score here on this sheet. So a 9-1 finish for a 9-1 win for Team Peter de Cruz. Tough day for Team Heinimann. They were playing the right shots. They had the right idea. But yeah, pretty tough to get points off Team de Cruz. So hopefully they can resettle, just not let that get into their heads too much. Nothing wrong with having a bit of a blowout against the Olympic bronze medalists and bring their best shots and have a bit more confidence this evening. So that's the important part now, is that they haven't lost confidence in this competition. That was always a tough start. So important is that they remember that they haven't suddenly become a dummy team in the past 2 hours. They're still a good team. They've still got good shots, and they can bring those good shots this evening. So let's hope that they're not too dispirited from that. And on our other games, next door, very tight affair. We can see it's a score of 4-3 to Hösli team from Switzerland, from Glarus Club. A couple of blank ends in there, so tight affair going on next door. The winner of that game, they will play Peter de Cruz, and the loser of that game, they will play Team Heinimann at the 6:30 draw. On sheet 3, again, all very close. So 2-1 to the Van Dorp team from Netherlands, who finished runner-up in Baden 2 weeks ago. So they are having a pretty good run of form versus the young Harsch team from Germany. They're in their 5th end, and also in their 5th end is Team Schneider, who also had a strong performance in the Baden Masters. They knocked out Yannick Schwaller 2 weeks ago, and they are 4-0 up against the Rizzoli team from Italy, and 2 blank ends in end 3 and 4 in that game as well. So the 3 games out there, all pretty cagey. Several blank ends thrown in there, which you don't always see at this level anymore with the 5 rock free guard zone. The winner of Van Dorp Harsch will play the winner of Schneider Rizzoli, and the loser of those 2 games, they will play each other at 6:30 as well. So we will certainly be back. I'm going to go and have lunch, and to Michaela's point, I am going to go and have a nice long drink of tea to soothe the throat a little bit. So we will be back a bit later. We won't be following the 2 o'clock game, and we will be back either for the 6:30 or for the 9 o'clock game this evening. So thank you everyone for joining us, and hopefully you can join us later. Bye for now.